Hello, my name is George Dowding, and today I'll be demonstrating the basic controls of a synthesizer from Native Instruments called Massive. As I go down the controls, I'll compare and contrast to the simple synthesizer used in the video lectures for week 6 of Introduction to Music Production. The controls that I'll be talking about are oscillator selection, specifically waveforms and frequency control, the filter section, which includes type of filter, frequency, and resonance. Finally, I'll look at the amplitude envelope. So starting with the oscillators. Massive has 3 oscillators that can be configured and mixed in a variety of ways. In addition, it has a noise generator. The simple synthesizer has a single oscillator. So now let's talk about the waveforms. So Massive has a large number of waveforms to choose from, and each waveform can be morphed by selecting the position. So here's a square saw set all the way to the saw side. The simple synthesizer has 4 waveforms: sine, triangle, saw, and square. It also has a noise generator, and one thing that it has that Massive does not have is the ability to load a sample that can be sent through the audio path. The final oscillator selection is how do you set the frequency, and in Massive you set that by using semitones and cents. A semitone, so if I set it to 12 semitones, that's an octave, and a cent is basically a partial semitone. In the simple synthesizer, you set the actual frequency, so it's really 2 different ways of getting to the same thing. Maybe a little bit easier in a musical context to set the pitch directly rather than having to know what the frequency of the pitch that you need to use for a given song. So the next section is the filters. So again, Massive has a fair number of filters, but the controls are pretty similar to in the simple synthesizer. You have the cutoff, resonance, and if you have certain filters have additional controls, like Scream has a scream control. So the main difference here is that Massive has 2 filters, and it has more choices in the filter type. The final section that I want to talk about is the amplitude envelope. So by default, envelope 4 is set to the amplitude. So it is, I'll start describing how it's similar to the simple synthesizer and then show how it's different. So the similarities is that there's an attack time, a decay time, a sustain level, and release time. So things that are different is there's also a delay, which is basically the time between when you hit a key and when the attack starts. And the attack actually has a level. So in the simple synthesizer, attack would go all the way to the peak, and in Massive, attack, you can set that independent of the sustain level peak, which is here. So again, Massive gives you more controls, but if you focus on the basics, you can see how they're fairly similar to the simple synthesizer. So in general, the simple synthesizer is a good starting point if you want to understand synthesizers, and it's helpful when trying to understand Massive because there's obviously a lot more controls. Anyway, so that's my presentation for this week. I hope you enjoyed it.